Hello, welcome to week 5 of the Intentional Grounding Podcast. We are your host. I am Chris Otto here with
Glenn.
Glenn sounds a little bit thrilled. We're going to be covering another week of same old football. There isn't really outside of 2 or 3 teams. There's really not too many teams that are really standing out so far as the cream of the crop.
I watched a lot of football this week, and I had the opportunity to sit back and take in a lot of games. And I'm going to disagree there. There is a lot of good football teams out there. They're just not the usual suspects that you would think of.
Oh, all right. I can dig that. We can jump right into last night's game. We had the Kansas City Chiefs pulling out a win at Mile High against the Denver Broncos last night.
Yeah, tough game. Denver threw everything they could at Patrick Mahomes and came out on top. It was a great football game if you like football. It was a great football game.
I caught on the time that I actually clicked on to start watching it was when Chiefs strong safety Eric Murray straight up manhandled that ball away from Humerman, the tight end for the Denver Broncos, and that was a fucking hell of a play.
That was the play of his career. He's never made anything even remotely close to that play.
Is this his second or third year?
I want to say third.
I tell you what, when I seen that, like, that was straight up, man. He was give me
that.
Yeah,
it was grown man. Yeah, it was grown man.
You ain't doing shit about that.
Yeah, it was grown man defense. Yeah, what's the name? Sammy Watkins went out with a hamstring. He's hurt. Eric Berry's still not there. They just picked up safety from Cincinnati. One of the safeties, his name slipped my mind. That just happened earlier today. They need help in that defensive back end. But overall, the kid came to play. They bottled him up pretty good the first half. He didn't really. They were blitzing from everywhere, hitting blitzes, mixing up coverages. They did a lot to take away everything that Andy Reid and Mahomes wanted to do on offense. And second half, he just turned it on. He showed why he's, in my opinion, playing the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah, they were able to prevail in pretty impressive fashion. Casey Keenum is continuing to prove why he's a journeyman and not like a locked up long term.
He's not a franchise quarterback, and anyone who thinks that he was, they were either lying to themselves or they really don't watch football. Because if you just look at his stat lines, you might be confused. But I'll tell you right now, if you watch him play, you know he's not a franchise. He's Alex Smith light. He's Alex Smith that makes mistakes, which is what? I mean, what good is that?
He's one of those guys. I think he's like a Brian Hoyer that if your star quarterback is maybe going to be out
he's a
a
good
game
backup.
or two,
Yeah.
he can come in and at least keep the ship sailing.
Yeah, he's a good backup.
But I don't long term. It's definitely a guy I wouldn't.
Nah, they got to draft a guy. They got to do something. People are already calling for Chad Kelly to come in and make some plays.
I like Chad Kelly.
Yeah, Chad Kelly. I liked him a lot coming out.
I think this signing of Case Keenum should start turning up the gas for John Elway, but the Denver Broncos fan base is a bunch of fucking idiots, and they want to deep throat him.
John Elway ain't going anywhere.
Paxton Lynch, Trevor Seaman, they got lucky with the whole Peyton outside of that last year when the team basically carried Peyton to the Super Bowl, regardless what anyone says.
Yeah, that defense carried him. That was, I don't want to say that was a generational defense, but that was a great defense.
Talented from front to back.
Front to back.
Jumping into San Fran, can't get it done at L.A. against the Chargers.
San Fran is, I mean, let's face it, without Garoppolo, what are they? I mean, even with Garoppolo, what were they? They were a shot in the dark to be good. They were everyone's feel-good pick. I mean, let's face it, they're not a complete team yet. They're not there.
Yeah, Garoppolo going down definitely changed a bit. I'm a little disappointed in the Chargers. They're still kind of showing that they're just the same old Chargers. That they're not going to, very rarely do they blow out teams anymore. I mean, once in a blue moon, they'll maybe light it up for a little bit, but just scuttling away with a, what was it, 2 points, 29-27, a 2-point win over the San Francisco 49ers. They should have.
They were up early, and then they let San Francisco come back into it. But once again, the Chargers are going to be the Chargers, whether in L.A. or San Diego or wherever they're going to play at. It's just one of those snake-bitten franchises. People, it's getting lost in the season, but you got to remember they're dealing with a lot of injuries and important injuries. We're not talking depth injuries.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking, major injuries. Joey Bosa, they lost.
He'll be out for 8 weeks.
Yeah, their starting tight end, Hunter Henry. Henry's out for the year, and one of their starting cornerbacks out for the year. So you're talking major blows of injuries, and that's just something that team deals with. They're never. Listen, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care how many prognosticators say that they're going to win the division. They're never going to win the division. They're not.
I can agree to that. So we got New Orleans continue to prove that they are in the top of the echelon of the NFC with a nice dominating victory over the New York Giants. I don't get it. The New York Giants are making us look bad, Glenny.
Hey,
they're making us look bad.
They are a poorly coached team, Pierre. And that offensive line is so bad. Nothing is going to work until they get that fixed. Nothing. I don't care how many star players. I don't care who you have. I don't care how many Saquon Barkleys. I don't care what quarterback you put back here. Nobody's going to do anything behind that offensive line. Period. It's just ugly. And guess what? You can't build an offensive line with. You can't build an offensive line with a receiver making that much money. So good luck with that.
Oh yeah, and then eventually you figure another 2 or 3 years, they're going to be throwing money at Evan Ingram.
Oh, yeah, listen.
He'll be getting...
Landon Collins is going to be coming up to a big contract soon.
And that whole defensive side of the ball, they got a lot of big paycheck kind of guys.
They got a lot of talent on defense. Their defense is the only reason why they're somewhat competitive. But that whole coaching staff, I mean, that was my biggest concern was... How is that coaching staff? Who are they? What are they going to be? And you're seeing it now. They're an unprepared football team. They can't scheme to their strengths. They can't scheme around their weaknesses. And they're just a bad football team.
It's a shame. There's so much talent on that team. Even the defense. It almost seems like Janoris Jenkins kind of like disappears once in a blue moon. He'll make a play to show you like
he's there.
This is why I'm here. This is why I get paid what I get paid. But then he disappears.
Landon Collins doing the same thing. You know what? They're acting an awful lot like the Chargers from
Yeah, I can.
That's exactly what they're looking like.
Yeah, that's not a bad statement. In a battle of Dookie, we got Seattle pulling out the 3-point win against Arizona. Key note of that game is Earl Thomas left with a fucked up leg.
What a broken leg, and how sickening that them and the Chiefs just agreed to terms on a deal for a trade, and he broke his fucking leg.
That's terrible.
They came down on the price. They wanted 2 second-rounders for him. They were bargaining down. They agreed on a second-rounder. The Chiefs said, okay, we'll give you guys a second-rounder. They already started working, moving, and clearing up cap space to make the trade work for this year. And he broke his fucking leg. And flipped the whole sideline the finger just to show his anger. But obviously it wasn't at his teammates. He's not mad at his teammates. He's probably not mad at his coaches. It was basically to the Seahawks franchise.
The front office.
Yeah.
How about Cleveland and Oakland lighting it up? Oakland just squeaking by.
Oakland stinks. Oakland's a really bad football team. They're not a good football team at all. In any way, they should have lost that game. And I'm not a person that complains about the refs, but the refs gave that game to Oakland. I don't know. I don't want to say that they want to see Oakland win, but listen, when you take away that first down on that bullshit challenge and spot to move that back a half yard to take away that first down, and basically...
It's a game changer.
Yeah, it's a complete game changer. They lost that game from penalties. The refs lost that game for the Browns. Yeah, and it's a shame because they should have won that game.
It's pretty tough when you got to... Not only you're fighting off your opponents, but then you add the whole refs ordeal and what
did they turn the ball over like 4 straight drives or something like that?
Something ridiculous,
it was, and let Oakland into it, then came back and then grabbed the lead again just to have it taken away from them. Sickening.
Jaguars handling business, proving to the Jets that they need to shut the fuck up and sit down. That there's no culture's changed. You're still the Jets.
Still the Jets.
Nothing special.
So we're talking about the culture change. People, the Jets aren't as bad as a franchise as people make it seem. I think they were actually more successful over the last 10 years than the Giants. But it's just they just have that Jets. They're just the Jets. People think that they're just a snake-bitten awful franchise, but
the Joe Namath curse.
Yeah, they just stink. New York, they just stink. I don't know what it is.
I tell you what, that whole Doug Marrone and bringing in what's his face to be in the front office? The old Giants head coach?
Oh, Coughlin?
Yeah.
No, Coughlin's Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm saying for
you're talking
Jaguars,
about for the Jags,
Doug Marrone and Tom Coughlin coming back to Jacksonville where he originally had success. He's doing wonders.
Coughlin will bring a culture change, an attitude change, a physical toughness.
And they were already on the upside,
Listen, you could see that team in general is built with that attitude, that aggression, the smart fundamental football. But you can see the shortcomings. Just like of the Giants, franchise when he was there, they play that stout defense, and they have an offense that will just lay an egg at any given week, and they could lose a game at any given week just because that offense could just fucking lay an egg and lose like a 9-6 game like they did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got Miami going into it undefeated. Miami Dolphins traveling to New England showing up, trying to silence their critics, reminding them who they are moving forward.
That's the big brother, little brother syndrome. Yeah, the little brother, he's like 15. He started lifting a couple weights, challenges the big brother to a boxing match, and he gets knocked the fuck out. You're not ready. You're not ready for that stage yet. Relax. Calm down.
Back
take it
to
easy.
reality.
Yeah. I still don't think New England's that good. I think Miami just was playing over their heads a little bit.
Okay.
I still don't think New England's that good.
I can respect that. An embarrassment of a win. The Houston Texans barely squeaked by after being up 3 scores.
Man.
On the Indianapolis Colts to let them steamroll back their way. Andrew Luck just doing whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah, I was jumping between games. I was trying to watch a lot of football, more football than I would typically watch because the Chiefs played Monday night, so I got a chance to sit back on Sunday. I was watching football with my son all day, and I actually turned the game off and started perusing around to the other games, some of the closer games, and I look back, I was just checking scores to see which game I wanted to tune into, and seen that and said, what the fuck happened? So if you watched it, let me know what happened in that meantime, because I shut it off when Houston was comfortably, and Houston was comfortably in the lead. But I gotta say, it wasn't convincing how they got comfortably in the league either. It wasn't.
The big key is just a lack of competent running backs. There's no running back that can come in, chew up clock, because they were just essentially driving downfield and scoring. But it was almost like playing Tom Brady. You give him enough time, he's gonna march up and down the field and have his way. I mean, it was. The fact that they won and pulled out the victory was pure luck. I don't care what anyone says. Your quarterback gets sacked 7 times, and it's issues across the board. You could blame the offensive line, but a lot more of it, I will say, was Deshaun Watson holding on to the ball too long, trying to. Sometimes
he's trying to make plays.
Yeah, sometimes he wants to go for the win right then and there when it's like. Really don't have to.
It's a good trait to have. It'll definitely win you more games than it'll lose you. But at the same time, he can't with that offensive line. And Fuller, correct me if I'm wrong, Fuller got hurt again?
Yeah, he got dinged up a little bit.
So Fuller was out, and he could only go to Hopkins again.
No, he was going to rookie
Kiki
Kute, who's
towards the end of the game,
only highlight of the game.
It seemed like to me he was locking on
Hopkins.
Yeah. I'm talking about late because I did tune back in. Talking about late, it seemed like he was keying back in on Hopkins. And listen, there's way worse options than throwing at the fuck Bernard.
Oh yeah,
because he's just Bernard Hopkins. I called him DeAndre Hopkins. Listen, he's a stud. We've talked about before. He's my favorite receiver. But that game. Can we talk about Andrew Luck's arm for a minute? His arm is not the same as it was. I don't care how much they say he's healed from that shoulder.
Yeah.
He is not healed. He might be physically healed, but there's something wrong with his motion. There's something wrong. He doesn't get velocity on the ball. Passes are inaccurate. His delivery looks funky. He's never going to be, unless this is just he's still working through it. If this is going to be his mechanics from now on, he's never going to be that effective.
Hey, one of the things I've been saying was I'd be shocked if I'm surprised he's throwing right now,
this debate.
Like legitimately. Yeah. And now, I don't know if this is in spite of how bad the Texans are playing, but I mean, he was moving the ball, but it's not
Texans
like,
are playing bad football.
It's
that
not,
defensive backfield is
It's
not
not the
good.
Andrew Luck of old.
No,
but I mean,
the Andrew Luck of old, I think, would have won that game pretty easily.
Oh, absolutely. The fact that he was carving up is just an indictment on that Texans defense.
I agree with that. I think on that defensive back end, there's holes everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. Big loss with Aaron Colvin going down. Yeah. So, in the what I think was the shocker of the weekend, Philadelphia Eagles blowing it in overtime against DeMarcus pass myself the fucking ball Mariota.
This is another one of those teams that I'm talking about. They're a pretty good team. That Tennessee team, whether you'd like to admit it or not, I know it's a division rival. That's a well put together football team. That's a tough team. They're going to be a tough team to beat all year, and you don't want to see that team in the playoffs. They're a good football team. They're very solid.
They're gelling together. I don't think they're talented. I think them being tight and on the same page as a team supersedes their talent. I think they're playing higher than they actually should be.
But they're beating good teams. That's what separates them. They beat Jacksonville, who could be considered the best team in the league. They're up there, definitely in the running. They beat Jacksonville, and they beat a very good Philadelphia Eagles football team.
So here's my thing with them beating Philadelphia, and it's going to play a role in my prediction for this coming up week. Teams are going to catch the Eagles. This is the time when you catch the Eagles. The Eagles are wounded. They're trying to get Carson Wentz back into playing, because he hasn't played since, week 11, week 12
I think week 11, week 12.
Roughly around there. No preseason, no real time in TC. He's still shaking the rust. If anything, I think they're wounded. Right. He's still their better option than Nick Foles. I think now is the time that teams can capitalize. That was one of the things that led to success is Vrabel and that Titans defense was blitzing the fuck.
Listen.
And that's normally one of Carson Wentz's bright spots is he can pick up a fucking blitz.
Well, this is touching on what I noticed about Carson Wentz, and I'll tell you this. He might be physically healed, doctors cleared, but when you're watching him, he's stiff. He's kind of robotic in his movements. He's not as smooth. He's not as fluid as he normally is. And we've had this conversation. I've said it on the air here. He's my favorite quarterback. He's replaced now by Patrick Mahomes for obvious reasons. But he's my favorite quarterback. He's still my second favorite quarterback. But you could see physically he might be healed, but I don't know if he just doesn't have confidence or he's shaking rust off. But he definitely looks more robotic. He's not as fluid. He's not making all the plays that he normally does. And I think that'll come back towards the end of the year like you're talking about. They're definitely working through some kinks.
Yeah, I think they're a team right now. I think they should rely a little bit more on the run game. Even though their running backs are currently banged up, maybe shop around. I've even heard their names coming up in the Le'Veon Bell sweepstakes.
I don't know. We've talked about Le'Veon Bell. I think he's a system back.
We got our first chat.
All right.
Mike Stan, he said, "Get a haircut, Chris."
Hey, Mike Stan, mind your fucking business.
Just so you know, Mike, we talked about this off air right before. I told him he's got to clean the fuck up.
All right, jumping on to the next game, the Buffalo Bills, and no fucking surprise here, lay an egg against who I was hoping was the worst team in the fucking NFL, but they got luck. And they ran into the Buffalo Bills, the Green Bay Packers, 22-0, convincing win over the Buffalo. Boy, I love losing Super Bowls.
Yeah, it is what it is. Green Bay's not a good team. Buffalo's the worst team, and you kind of got to leave it there. Aaron Rodgers is clearly hurt. Anyone within that organization really needs to step in and take him off the field because he's going to fuck himself up.
And bring in the Sean Moneyman Kaiser.
He fucking stinks.
Dreams can come true. All right, in another battle of the doo-doos where someone unfortunately had to win, Dallas comes out with a 2-point victory over the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. Dallas, now you could start to get a really good read on who teams are, what their identities are. Week 4, Dallas has got a strong defense. Their defense looks good. They beat a bad Detroit team. Detroit's one of them teams that you'll never be able to get a read on them. They're one of them teams you could never bet on or against.
Is it safe that they're another team like how we're calling the Giants, the Chargers? Are they another team that's like that? You always get big expectations. They got a real good – they got a stud of a quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, granted, he's missing that chromosome that gives you Down syndrome or whatever.
He's got an extra one.
Yeah, extra chromosome that gives him the Down syndrome. They're just one of those teams. You're always like, what the fuck is wrong with them?
Well, we were talking about Stafford, and it's one of those, he can make all the plays, but he's definitely that quarterback that doesn't make the best decisions. He's just not a good decision maker. He's not enough game manager. I don't want to say his football IQ maybe ain't that high. I don't know, and I know it's going to come back to his downs. But listen,
that chromosome, man.
His football IQ just isn't that high. He's just never going to be a winner. He's never going to be a winner.
You think he just got so used to being able to have Megatron there, chucking it up and being like, he's got it.
Yeah, but you kind of get used to something like that because you ultimately have to put all your trust in him. But I don't think that harms him as a quarterback. I just think his decision making. You can't blame it on coaches because I would love to know the number how many offensive coordinators he's had in his career. So you really can't put it on coaching, or you could and say he had no consistency. Either way, he's just not the kind of quarterback that's gonna take you to promised land. As far as I'm concerned, if I'm that front office, I trade him. One team's gonna give you a boatload for him. I trade him for some picks, a couple first rounders, and just start over.
I can respect that. And a shocker stunned me. I did not expect this at all. Tampa Bay gets fucking rolled by the Chicago Bears. The Bears.
The Bears. That's, once again, this is another one of those good teams that you weren't expecting. It's week 4. It's shaping up. They're a good football team right now. That defense is scary at all levels.
Oh, absolutely.
The defense is scary. Trubisky, if he could elevate himself to Alex Smith plus, which I think he can be, then they're going to be trouble. They're going to be a tough team to beat. That's another good football team.
I like to refer to him as Mitch Fitzpatrick because he reminds me of Ryan Fitzpatrick, where he'll have great games, but then he has that game where it kind of reminds you. Yeah, I mean,
he's still young, and it's his first year in this system with this coach, and it's not an easy system to pick up.
19 of 26, 354 yards, 73.1% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns for 154.6 quarterback rating, whatever the fuck that means, because they change it every 2 or 3 years. That's my high IQ player of the week.
IQ?
Fucking
Mitch Trubisky?
Mitch Fitzpatrick Trubisky. And Tampa Bay, yet again, proving why they're fucking terrible franchise. Because you know what? Granted, it wasn't a good performance with Fitzpatrick. But the fact that you're pulling a Bill O'Brien, the second your guy's struggling, you're all ready to just yank him out.
They were talking about they were going to bench him last week before he came back.
Silly. And that's why.
For the third stringer. Not even Winston, for the third stringer.
And this is why Tampa Bay will always be fucking Tampa Bay. They sold their souls to the devil for that one fucking Super Bowl, and now they're going to go back into the abyss and always fucking stink. I'm sorry. There's nothing about Jameis Winston that says he is that franchise. Other than going to FSU, yippee-ki-yay, there's nothing. I don't see nothing special about
There's no flashes yet. You don't see it yet.
If anything, I think, just like Case Keenum was early in his career, I think you hurt Jameis Winston keeping him in Florida more so than if he ended up in Tennessee over Mariota and Mariota ended up in Florida. I think would have been a better situation.
I don't think the state has anything to do with it. I just think that's one of those dysfunctional franchises that they're never going to get it together. They're always going to be in the doldrums, and it's just going to be. You
don't think being close to home and being around, the friends and stuff, the bad influences.
Listen, he's a grown man. He's a football player.
He's proved time and time again he can't make adult decisions.
Look, put it this way: if you're at that level and you can't make adult decisions in your own personal life, you're never going to be able to run a franchise. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me where you're playing. If you haven't really flashed, and yeah, he flashed. He put up big numbers his rookie year, right? Set some records, I think, like over 4,000 yards, or started his career with 4. And he put up numbers, but if you watch him play, you just see he does not flash, and he hasn't shown any of that it, like Deshaun Watson did, like Patrick Mahomes is
that first overall pick.
Right,
this is why I was drafted here.
Right. You can blame quarterbacks can go one or other direction, but at some point early in their careers, you're going to need to see it, and he hasn't showed it.
Do you think he's like the new Michael Vick, where he's just
Michael Vick was explosive.
Not in that sense,
to where
style. His talent, where he thinks that he doesn't have to improve his game, the ability he currently has is good enough.
It could be an ego thing. It could be like you're talking about not being mature, not growing up, not seeing flaws in yourself. Maybe. Who knows? Look, he definitely has a maturity issue, and he had that all the way back in college. And you could see the writing was on the wall for that. I was never confident. I was never confident he was going to be a great quarterback. He could be a good quarterback. He could,
middle of the road,
middle of the road, take you to 8-8, 6-10, 9-7 ish. Maybe make the playoffs a couple times. Give you false hope. Once again, I think that's someone you move on from. You got to go get a quarterback.
I could see that. And last but not least, the first game of the week, where it was essentially an old school arms race.
We're just going to skip Atlanta, Cincinnati?
Oh, my bad. All right, we'll hold off. I'm sorry. Cincinnati pulling out the win late against the Atlanta Falcons.
Cincinnati, a good football team.
Cincinnati, a good Now, is it the Cincinnati of old that gets you hyped up?
I'm sure they're going to show up and fail at some point just because the coaching staff is who the coaching staff is.
But they're playing – you think they're playing good football?
I think they're playing good football right now. I think they're a good football team right now at this point in the season.
A.J. Green – getting it done.
A.J. Green getting it done.
At the end of the game, pretty
Listen,
impressive.
They look good. I was watching that game. They looked hands down better than Atlanta.
You know what? They're playing just good enough to where Dalton and Marvin Lewis are going to get a fucking extension. And then it'll be like, surprise, motherfuckers, it's us.
It's us again, right. They take their mask off, and it's still the Bengals.
Yeah, they take their mask off. Andy's, it's really Marvin, and Marvin's really Andy. Terrible.
No, Andy Dalton takes his mask off. It's still Andy Dalton underneath.
Yeah. So we'll jump into the now we can jump into, after I jumped the gun, into the arms race of the Kirk Cousins-led Minnesota Vikings losing, coming up short against the L.A. Rams.
I was up in the air on this one.
Yo, that was you want to talk about a fucking game?
Yeah, I watched it. I was up in the air on this one. I wanted Minnesota. I thought Minnesota was going to win this game. I wasn't here last week because I was under the weather. If it was my prediction, I would have guessed Minnesota.
Yeah, I incorrectly did.
I thought that they had enough offense to get past the injured, the banged up Rams defense. And the Rams offense, I was still on the fence about it. I figured Minnesota's D was going to have a rebound game, even though they're missing Everson Griffin.
Well, D was optional in this game. It was almost like, if you feel like playing this drive, play. If not, fuck it.
Let me tell you something. The Rams, as far as I'm concerned, are a fraud team.
You think they're a fraud? I think they're the elite, top cream of the crop.
I'm going to tell you why I think they're a fraud team.
Give it to me, Daddy-O.
That defense is slow.
Yes,
that defense is
I
slow
can agree to that.
At every level. That defense is dangerous slow. If you play a team like Atlanta will torch that Rams. You play a team like
Minnesota's got
the Chiefs,
speedsters, though.
They were getting it done.
But
you had Kirk Cousins. I'm talking about a team with a quarterback that could dissect that defense.
I think what hurt them in the end was the lack of run game for Minnesota. At one point, they just stopped running the ball to where, granted.
Well, look, it's hard to run against the Rams, which I would say their only strong suit is stopping that run because they're big and strong in the middle. But as far they have no speed on the edges to get after the quarterback, and they got no speed in the defensive backfield, and their linebackers stink. So as far as I'm concerned, that's just a Wade Phillips scheme defense, and Wade Phillips can be exposed. His defenses can be exposed, which they usually do in big games.
Yes, sir.
I'm convinced that this Rams team they'll probably run through undefeated, maybe lose a game middle of the year, maybe late in the year.
13-3, 14-2, I think is realistic.
But I'm thinking, I think they drop one game in the regular season.
You're saying 15-1 for the Rams.
I think they're going to go 15-1, maybe 14-2, and I think they're a one and done in the playoffs.
Wow.
That's what I'm
bringing the heat.
I think this team, the offense is legit. First off, Jared Goff is the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. Right now, how he's playing, at least right now.
He's hitting darts.
Until you either get him off his pivot, maybe disrupt some timing. But the passes he's throwing, I haven't seen a quarterback that accurate with passes since Kurt Warner.
And with guys like Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp's got
hands. I'm not
Cooper
saying
Kupp
he's
can catch everything.
Bad, but I mean, he's not. He's probably not even a top. He's not a top 25.
Bill Belichick is beating off under the table whenever he watches Cooper Kupp play football.
How can I get that white boy?
How can I get that white guy that can catch? Listen, that team, I think their defense will be exposed by any true high-powered offense. I think the Chiefs, when they play in Mexico City, I think the Chiefs run the score up against that defense. I also think that they're going to run the score up on the Chiefs defense. I think that's going to be
another game like this.
I think it's going to set NFL record type yards and points in Mexico City. And quite frankly, well, we'll get into my predictions and I'll tell you why. But for this following week, I think that's going to be the game because it's set in Mexico. Chiefs Rams later on in the year.
Make sure they avoid the steak.
I think later on in the year, Chiefs Rams. I think the NFL is gearing up towards that to be like the game to hype up for international play because usually international games fucking blow.
I feel you. All right, buddy, you ready to jump into our Week 5 predictions?
Let's do it.
Let's do the time warp again. All right, starting with Thursday night football, we got the Indianapolis Colts traveling into New England.
New England. Indianapolis isn't a good football team. I don't think they have it. I think that New England's going to win, just coaching-wise. I just think they're going to get out-coached.
If I'm not mistaken, Indy doesn't have that good of a track record traveling to New England, outside of the few years where they got Jim Mercy to suck off the NFL officials.
Change the rules and everything, yeah.
Help Peyton. Yeah.
I like New England just for coaching. I don't think they're necessarily a better football team. Is T.Y. Hilton still hurt? I don't know. I just don't think that they're going to beat New England in New England.
Tennessee traveling to Buffalo.
Tennessee is gonna win that one easily.
I'm gonna go with Tennessee as well. Buffalo. That Josh Allen kid's gonna be so shell-shocked.
Yeah.
So shell-shocked.
Yeah, that Tennessee. I said earlier, I like that Tennessee team a lot. To me, I think they're a better version of the Jaguars.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is another goose egg for the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, I see it. I could see that for sure.
We got the Miami Dolphins headed to Cincinnati. I believe they're both 3-1 currently.
Cincinnati walks away easily with that win.
I agree as well. So far,
this is bad because you stink at picks.
I was 8 for 5 out of 15 last week. Let the record show. Green Bay at Detroit.
Motherfucker. Can you not read? The next game is Cleveland-Baltimore.
My bad. All right, the Baltimore Ratbirds traveling to Cleveland.
This is a tough game because I want to say Cleveland, but Baltimore is another good football team. Very solid all around.
You think Baltimore's a good team?
I think Baltimore's a good team.
I think,
and as a matter of fact, speaking of you skipping lines, we skipped them when we touched on our Week 4 games.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think Flacco's only showing up because he's got competition.
Whatever the reason.
Sure.
Just like Therese Paylor says, he says the contract year is undefeated. It's the same thing for quarterbacks with fucking someone breathing down their neck. Alex Smith had his best year as a fucking pro with Pat Mahomes behind him. Quarterbacks do that. I don't care. Whatever the reason is, they're playing good football. They got good defense. They got a nice no-name defense going on. Solid defense. Good running game. Good passing game. Listen, they're a good all-around football team.
I got to roll with Baker to 5-9.
I like Cleveland. I want to see them win. I just think Baltimore's a good team, and they're going to show it.
Hugh Jackson's such a fucking shitty coach.
He fucking stinks. He shouldn't be there. He's got no business being there.
All right, so my reading glasses are now on. Green Bay traveling to Detroit Rock City.
Oh, God.
I'm going to jump the gun before you do, and I'm going to go with the Detroit
Of course
Lions.
You're going to go with Detroit.
Just because fuck the Green Bay Packers. I need you to fucking lose.
I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. I just think that right now they're just a better team than Detroit. And that's not to say they're a good team. I just think they're a better team.
Following that up, we're going to have the Jags, Jags of Meth Head City traveling to Kansas City.
Kansas City going to Arrowhead, which is going to be a crazy crowd. Now, my brain says Jacksonville wins this one and hands Kansas City their first loss. But there's something in there saying, you know what? I think that Jacksonville team, I think they're going to come out and throw one of those goose egg games up. And I think the home crowd is going to be able to scramble Blake Bortles enough to shut down that offense enough to at least get a 3-point win. And I say that, I believe they're going to get some help from the refs because I believe this league wants Kansas City and the Rams to go into Mexico undefeated against each other. That's my conspiracy.
So I'm going to come from a different angle. One of the keys for Jacksonville is going to be Leonard Fournette's health.
Which he's not playing and he's out.
Okay. So I'm still going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars because
it doesn't matter the answer to that question. You were going to pick the Jags anyway. Let's be real here.
Absolutely. So but that's one of the things I'm worried about. I think they are across the board away, at least defensively. I think they have the firepower and more to – I think this is Patrick Mahomes' wake-up game. I think they're not only going to crush him, they're going to abuse him. I wouldn't be surprised if Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce will probably be eliminated from the game completely with one-on-one matchups.
With one-on-one matchup?
One-on-one
It's impossible to take Travis Kelce out one-on-one, and it's impossible to take Tyreek Hill out one-on-one.
You're 100% wrong because
it's impossible.
A.J. Boye has eliminated Travis Kelce from games. So A.J. Boye is now back in that playoff game, buddy.
Never happened.
It did happen.
One-on-one? Didn't happen.
One-on-one.
Didn't happen.
Okay.
Roll the tape.
If you
roll that beautiful beam footage.
I will.
Because that didn't happen.
And turn. And then Ramsey will
Ramsey
will eliminate Hill from the game.
No, listen, I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you, Ramsey, they're going to put Ramsey on Kelce. And Ramsey, I believe, can eliminate Kelce. I'm telling you, they did it against New England with Gronk. They're going to put Ramsey on Kelce. I promise you that. They're going to put Ramsey on Kelce, and they're going to scheme. They're going to put Boye with some safety help over the top for Tyreek Hill. The key here is, the biggest key is, will Sammy Watkins be ready to play this game? Because he's got a hamstring. Here it is, hamstring. If Sammy Watkins can play and he's functional, he's the key, along with Demetrius Harris, tight end number 2.
What do you mean? You can throw Joe Schmo. I could go out there and cover Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins isn't good.
What?
Sammy Watkins is not good. There's a reason why he's on his third team in 4 years, 5 years? He's not good.
Okay. All right.
He's another one of those guys, shows up once in a blue moon, and then he disappears. There's a reason why the Buffalo Bills got rid of him, the Rams got rid of him.
No, the Rams wanted him.
So
the Rams wanted to keep him.
Why did he leave? Money?
He's a free agent. Money.
No, they got the money. They could have re-signed him.
He was on a rookie deal. A team traded for him, hoping to re-sign him. They couldn't re-sign him. So then he hit the free agent
market. You're telling me
a
team that's got money for Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, and Ndamukong Suh, giving Aaron Donald, making him one of the top paid defenders, didn't have enough to keep Sammy Watkins.
I'm not saying they didn't. I'm saying they chose not to. Maybe they just didn't want to pay him.
If they chose not to, it's because he's not good. Sammy Watkins is not good. There's nothing that Sammy Watkins that says I am a good wide receiver.
Even if he was,
and that was one of your things.
Even if he's
one of your
not
things
a
coming
good,
into the season, was it not that he's going to have Mahomes is going to have a lot of drop passes, courtesy of who?
I never said Watkins was going to drop a lot of passes.
You said Sammy Watkins. If he has dropped passes, it's going to be because
no, I didn't.
Of
Sammy Watkins.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Roll the footage because I never said it. He doesn't drop that many passes. He doesn't. He's got good hands.
Sammy Watkins got good hands. So
yes.
even for the balls that he got overcooked because he quit on the route?
Well, listen, he quits on routes. For sure he quits on routes. But he's got good hands.
I don't think so.
Listen,
I don't think Sammy Watkins won't even be a factor in this game, whether he's healthy or not.
You don't think so?
It's going to come down to...
I think he's the factor.
It comes down to if Ramsey can take away Tyreek Hill.
The key for the game is Jacksonville getting pressure with a 4-man rush and not blitzing.
If it's when. I can assure you, though, they will have at least probably a 4-sack game. At least.
Now, it's hard to sack Patrick Mahomes that much. He's mobile. He gets around back here. He's hard to bring down. He's hard to sack. So I wouldn't say they're going to get 4 sacks for sure. They're definitely going to be pressuring him. It's going to be a hard game for sure. But I also don't think their offense is going to do anything. I think it's a low score, like a 17-14 type game. Kansas City.
Kansas City will benefit if the real Blake Bortles shows up.
Listen, that's
the Blake Bortles that you and I have seen and criticized over these years.
This is what I'm saying. I'm saying that Blake Bortles shows up with that nasty Arrowhead crowd, nasty home field advantage. What I'm saying is he's going to drop the ball, and it's going to be a low-scoring game. And I believe Kansas City ekes it out with some help from the refs.
So we looking.
No, listen. I mean that. I'm calling that right now.
What are we talking? Like 12-9 or 14-10?
I'm talking like a 17-14 game.
Okay, I could respect that.
Listen, I'm not saying they're
you're gonna
look. I think it's entirely possible the Chiefs lose this game. I think it's entirely possible the Chiefs lose this game by 10 points. I think it's entirely possible, but I just think there's something in the back of my head that's telling me they win in a close one. But like I said, listen, I entirely think they could lose by 10, maybe even 14. I see that. I totally see the possibility, and it wouldn't shock me if it happened. In fact, I'm on record online as saying this is the first game they drop of the year. But there's something that I think they're going to eke this one out. There's just something in me to think.
Something. I can respect that. About the Denver Broncos traveling to the New York Jets. Jets.
Denver wins this one easily.
Really?
Easily.
You think Case Keenum can come and handle that bipolar defense that the Jets have?
Let me tell you something. Them 2 running backs that fucking Denver has, them 2 rookies, are legit. Legit.
I want to see Sam Darnold do good. I want to believe in the hype of the Jets defense. I need Robbie Anderson to ball out.
Not going to happen.
The Atlanta Falcons traveling to the steel curtain of Ketchup Stadium, Pittsburgh Steelers.
I thought Pittsburgh was going to win last week. They didn't. I want to say they get off the snide against Atlanta, but I think Atlanta carves them up pretty good.
I agree. I'm going to have to stick with Atlanta because Pittsburgh is another one of those teams that they're getting caught at the right time for some reason. I don't know if it's because
that locker room's in shambles.
Oh, yeah.
Antonio Brown's causing some problems.
Tomlin's probably gone. I don't know if there are issues on defense. It shows you how much that defense was bound by Shazier.
Listen, it's a schematic failure, top to bottom. That defense is in shambles. Actually, if you want to look at it, was ever since Joe Hayden got there. Well, right before
that fucking hair.
They went and got Joe Hayden. They went and got Joe Hayden to try to fix that defense. It was falling apart before that. It hasn't been good since he's got there. Not saying he's the problem, but it was right around that time is when they identified there's some holes back there.
All right. New York Giants traveling to Carolina.
Do I got to pick one of these teams?
I know it's one of those. I'm going to go with Carolina just for the sake that they're coming off a bye week.
They got extra time.
And I don't see it's getting any. I don't think it's getting any better. Unfortunately, for my prediction earlier in the season, I don't think it's getting better for the New York Football Giants.
I want to say the Giants. I really do, but they're just a bad team. Carolina, just because they're coming off a bye and they're at home, so I'm going with Carolina.
Moving out to the West Coast now in another game. It's why the fuck do we even have to pick these?
Right.
But just for the sake of having one, we got Oakland Raiders traveling to L.A. to face the Chargers. I'm going to have to go with the Chargers just because fuck the Raiders. I'm
going to go with the Chargers. Well, number one, because fuck the Raiders. I hate them more than any other team.
The silver and black.
Oakland stinks.
The black hole.
I hate the black hole. I hate everybody that goes there.
I like the Chargers color rush. That blue. It's pretty dope.
The powder blue?
Yeah.
Here's something that we got to look at. The Chargers have no fans at all. I don't think anywhere. I don't think Chargers fans actually exist. I think they're government-paid spies or actors or something along those lines. I think it's conspiracy. I've never actually met a real-life Chargers fan. And if you look at the crowd in any of their games, it's always the opposing team's colors. I guarantee you, I'll bet anyone $5 right now that when they show the game this Sunday, that stadium is all black in the stands.
Are you saying it's like in Madden where it's like the same 5 faces, just CGI'd throughout the whole stadium?
That's who I'm telling you the Chargers fans are. They don't exist. They're holograms.
That's silly. And my game of the week, the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Philadelphia. I got Minnesota beating the brakes off the Philadelphia Eagles only because, as I was saying, for their struggles this week against Tennessee, I think their defense is going to show up. There might be some tape on throwing a couple extra exotic blitzes, some different looks on Carson to see if he can or can't handle. They'll test him early. I can't right now. I can't figure out a way that the Eagles would pull this one out, and it's also revenge for last year's NFC Championship game.
Philly eats Minnesota alive. Philly beats the brakes off of Minnesota, and I don't think it's a remotely close game.
So you're on the opposite spectrum.
I'm on the opposite spectrum. I don't think Minnesota goes into Philly and does anything. I think they already got Kirk Cousins' number. I think I don't see this game going well at all for Minnesota. I think Philly wins easily, and Carson Wentz reestablishes himself this week.
All right, opposite spectrum to me, but I don't know how you feel. But that was my game of the week.
No, my game of the week is Kansas City, Jacksonville.
All right. They should just let these guys just fucking tie the Arizona Cardinals.
They should just what they should do is they should just do field goals, right? And then start them at the 5 and just move back and see who could just kick field goals. And whoever makes the longest one wins in this one.
I got San Fran sneaking out the win just because I think Arizona doesn't want to win.
I think Arizona's going to win, and I think they're going to let Rosen show out a little bit more. I think they're going to come out there and beat San Francisco.
Okay. LA Rams against Seattle.
This is another chink in the armor game for the Rams. I think Seattle.
How, Sway? You got to justify how. There is, outside of Bobby Wagner, are there any good players?
Listen. I'm not saying that the Rams are going to lose.
I need a shaky triggered screen like.
Look, I'm not saying the Rams are going to lose. The Rams are going to win.
Okay.
The Rams are going to win. Relax. The Rams are going to win. But Russell Wilson is going to show how that lack of speed on that defense is going to be a problem as the year goes on. He's going to expose that defense a little bit. The Rams are going to win. The Rams are going to win comfortably. But he's going to show there's some chinks in that defense.
Sweet baby Jesus laying in the manger. I got to go with the Rams convincingly. I think this might be a possible NFL record game, maybe for completions or yards.
They're going to put up some points for sure. But I think Seattle is also going to put up some points. I think Russell Wilson's going to go out there and show out.
Moving along to Sunday Night Football, which will be streamed live from Residence Media Network Studios. Another dumb game that should just end in a fucking tie, but it doesn't matter. I got the Dallas Cowboys pulling out a one against the Houston Texans, only because, granted, Dallas Cowboys offense currently fucking stinks. But their defense,
they got a good defense.
The Texans allowed 7 sacks against the Indianapolis Colts, who have no. Can you name anyone on their defensive line? I can name maybe Jabal Sheard and Marcus Hunt, only because I watched the game. That's why I know who they are.
Right.
Dallas is getting back David Irving. They got Terrence Crawford, Randy Gregory,
Lawrence.
DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah.
They're
going to run roughshod on that Houston offensive line, and they're not going to have any answer for them. If Houston is going to win this game, it's going to be because Deshaun Watson does it on his own. Deshaun Watson's going to have to win this game.
And they're pretty banged up on their offensive line as well.
Yeah, listen, Dallas's offense is no good. J.J. Watt seems to be coming around. Clowney started to look like a force again. I think they're going to be able to get after them. I think it's going to be a close game.
This might be one of those games on who has the ball last.
I think it's going to be a close game, and I think Deshaun Watson wins this one for Houston. I think he goes out and wins this one.
Winning just in spite of the shitty team.
I'm telling you, listen, I think it's just going to be one of those games where he just goes gung-ho, balls to the wall. He sees the season's going down the drain slowly. He's going to have to do something. I think he's going to evade the pressure because outside of that front, Sean Lee is not playing or he is playing. I think Sean Lee's hurt again.
I haven't seen an injury report yet.
I think Sean Lee is hurt. Dallas, outside of their front four, maybe sending some blitzes. Watson's going to get around that, and he's going to make some plays. They're going to have some guys open.
With his legs, you think it's going to be like a Cincinnati game where
I think he's going to be doing some running. I think he's going to be making some plays, but Kuti is going to be very tough to stop. Also, with Hopkins, Fuller, as far as I'm concerned, he's a fucking listen. He's never going to be consistently healthy. I don't think he's ever going to be on the field consistently. Kuti, I think, will be, and I think him and Hopkins are going to have a very good game. I think Houston wins this game on Deshaun Watson's back.
All right. And moving along to why people don't give a fuck about the NFL and the ratings are going down because they decided that they were going to put the Washington Redskins at New Orleans on a fucking primetime fucking spot. To me, I would rather have Jacksonville or Kansas City is probably the main game on this whole schedule this week that's worthy of that
Monday night spot.
I mean, but hindsight's 2020 when they're making these lists.
When they're making the schedule.
Jeez, can't they flex scheduling should be available now.
Yeah, when does flex scheduling starts? Like week 9 or something?
Something like that, week 9, week 10. But yeah, they should start making that available. I can't go against Drew, soon to be MVP 2019 or 2018 MVP.
And you're going to see the stark contrast of real quarterback versus fucking Alex Smith in this game. You're going to see it. It's going to be awful. It's going to be awful. I got New Orleans comfortably.
Oh, absolutely.
Comfortably.
I mean, I'd be surprised if they score 2 field goals for Washington.
No, they're going to score more than 2 field goals. Alex Smith is definitely going to move them down the field, which he does, because New Orleans defense stinks. Let's not forget that. Their defense stinks.
That's true.
They're probably going to score a lucky touchdown. They'll probably get 1 and then 2 field goals. So you're looking like a 31-13 kind of game.
31-13. Not bad. Bye week this week was the Chicago Monsters of Midway Bears, led by Mitch Fitzpatrick Trubisky, and the Ryan Fitzpatrick bench-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be the other bye team. That's
right. So we actually got quite a few interesting games this week. I'm looking forward to quite a few of them. But that Kansas City-Jacksonville game, not even just because they're my team. If you are a casual rooting fan, that's a game you want to see.
If you like football, you'll definitely follow Jacksonville at Kansas City this week. And I'd say my game of the week pick, Minnesota traveling to Philadelphia, are really
2 good games.
Outside of, homers that will follow their team.
Baltimore-Cleveland's going to be a very fun game. Baltimore-Cleveland's going to be a fun game. I think any game Baker Mayfield's playing in is going to be a fun game.
It'll be interesting if Flacco gets knocked out and Lamar gets put in.
Yeah, I could see that. But, I mean, Denver, Jets, Atlanta, Pittsburgh is going to be interesting. I think that Pittsburgh defense is in shambles.
Who sucks less?
But Pittsburgh is one of them teams that you're just waiting for them to bust out of the slump. They run into these little 2-3 week slumps and they bust out and then they look like, oh shit, everything's fine. Kind of like New England does.
They got Le'Veon stirring the pot again, talking about he's going to show up.
He's going to come back. Week 7, he said, for the bye.
Someone said this week or someone said the bye week.
He said week 7 or whatever their bye is. I think it was week 7. He said he was going to come back. And I don't think he's going to play in a game at all.
Does he get moved this week?
He's going to get traded before that even comes. He's going to get traded.
If you can name 2 teams where he goes.
2 teams. Let me see. What team needs a running back and is stupid enough to overpay? I can't say it. Green Bay?
Minnesota?
Nah, Minnesota's
Dalvin Cook hasn't been getting it done.
Cincinnati?
They got Joe Mixon, Giovanni. It might be a dumb team that's like really not good, like the Jets or Indianapolis.
Jets or Indy. Yeah, that's why I was looking at Indy. Houston is a possibility as well.
Unfortunately.
I don't see that. That front office doesn't make too many splash trades or fucking anything like that anyway. So that's really what sways me from it.
Trade Clowney.
What's Washington's fucking running back situation like?
They got Gucci Man, Gucci Gang, but he's IR'd for the year. I think they got like two good so nobodies, but they get the job done.
Right. Maybe a team like Washington.
No,
they got Adrian Peterson now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. They got Adrian Peterson.
Well.
Yeah, no, they're not going to make a move. I would say if I had to narrow it down to 3 teams, I would go Indy. I would go Houston. Cincinnati kind of needs a fucking running back too.
How about over Joe Mixon and Giovanni?
Joe Mixon's hurt.
How about Cleveland?
Well, he just got operated on.
How about Cleveland?
Cleveland's possible.
I think Cleveland could be the ghost team. It depends on if John Dorsey will tolerate that type of behavior.
John Dorsey don't deal with that kind of bullshit. Cincinnati possibly.
I'm going to stick with my prediction and go with
Green Bay. Now, you know what? If I had to pick 3, Indy, Green Bay, or Houston would be my top 3 landing spots for Le'Veon.
I'll go with Indy. I will go with Cleveland. And how about a dark horse? The New England Patriots.
Possibly.
Only because I know Bill Belichick and that coaching staff could scheme the fuck out of some shit.
They could definitely make use of him.
And they would probably run a wishbone package with Le'Veon all the way in the back, and you got Burkhead out on the one side, and they
Ain't Burkhead hurt? Isn't Burkhead going for the year? Or Burkhead's hurt?
Shit, I might be wrong, but
I think Burkhead's hurt.
They got Sony Michel as well, and then they got someone else.
Belichick could definitely scheme him for sure. Belichick could scheme him, but do you think Bill Belichick's going to give up the ransom that Pittsburgh's going to want for him? Last I saw, Pittsburgh said they want a second rounder and a good player. They're probably going to want someone on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, but didn't they just give up a first-round pick for Brandon Cooks only to let him go the next year?
Who? No?
Yeah. So I don't think that's too far-fetched for them. They paid a nice rent. They gave up a first-round pick for Brandon Cooks.
But are they going to pay Le'Veon the fucking contract he wants?
You know what?
Because you're not going to give up that ransom for a one-year rental.
I think New England would. Pay
him that kind of ransom? I don't think
Did they trade for Darrelle Revis when he was with Tampa Bay?
No, he was a free agent.
He was a free agent?
Yeah.
I could see them trading him just as a mercenary, hype him up. If you want a ring, get it, and then you're free to go wherever the fuck you want. But
would you give up a ransom would you give up draft picks and a good player for him? Just to let him walk? You're giving away potential contributors, future contributors. We're not talking about a 5th-round pick here. We're talking about they want at least a second.
Well,
second and a good player.
Belichick and Brady are coming both to the end. So I don't think either one of them gives a fuck about longevity of the New England Patriots. That's just me. I think it's more of let's get the ring, let's get history. Like I said, they gave up a first-round pick for Brandon Cooks and then let him go to L.A. or trade him to L.A. I could easily see them come in, get a healthy, fresh Le'Veon Bell.
Motivated Le'Veon Bell.
You put him on New England, and then at the end of the day, I mean, so what's the worst case scenario, right? Pittsburgh gets an extra first-round pick. We'll say New England's willing to give that, right? Okay. New England could possibly steamroll their way to another Super Bowl appearance. And then Le'Veon now has a ring to add to his demands. Right. I'm a Super Bowl winning running back.
True. But I got another scenario for you. Le'Veon Bell, obviously he's not in football shape. He trades to a team like New England, or anybody trades for him. He goes out there, he's out of shape. He goes out there, maybe pulls a hammy. Maybe sprains an ankle.
That's not going to happen immediately because you know what? They'll treat him like they treated Josh Gordon, and they will walk, crawl, and then run Le'Veon. That's one thing New England very rarely does is make a move for someone and then throw him into the fire.
Josh Gordon didn't look good when they played. Josh Gordon will not look good. I'm on record of saying that. Josh Gordon will not look good. And he won't look good. I can't even say it's a bad trade. They gave up a 5th rounder with the hope that once they get Amendola back, they could pair him up with the Wes Walker, Randy Moss.
And Edelman's coming back.
That's what I meant. Did I say Amendola? I meant Edelman. Yeah, I meant
Edelman. Short white guy.
Short white guys are all the same. It's like Wes Walker. I might as well said Wes Walker.
I think that's probably the best scenario for all parties is New England gives up a first for Le'Veon. So they get their first-round pick. New England potentially gets to walk to another Super Bowl. And then Le'Veon gets to demand more money.
I can see it.
I mean, who never ever knows? I mean, NFL is always silly.
New England is my favorite to get any sort of player of that nature. I just don't think New England's going to give up what Pittsburgh wants. And I think if you're talking about dealing him to an AFC contender, your usual playoff Achilles heel team, I think they're going to want a lot more than New England's willing to give up.
All right.
If they let him walk, I think they get a compensatory pick anyway. I think they get a 3rd rounder if they walk. So they're going to want to at least improve on that.
So the first quarter of the NFL is over. We're already in the week 5. The first 4 are over. Currently, I would like to know your 4 top teams that basically say it's playoff time right now. AFC Championship, NFC Championship. Who are your final 4 teams right now?
Right now. I'm going to go Kansas City, Jacksonville, AFC. We're just going based on the first 4 games of the season, and we're not projecting.
Correct.
Kansas City, Jacksonville, New Orleans, LA, Rams.
Are you in my fucking brain?
It was out of Philadelphia or New Orleans. I think Philadelphia has the better defense, but they haven't looked good. That's what I'm saying. I think Carson Wentz is going to come back in.
Get out of my brain.
And he's going to do well. I think Carson Wentz is going to do well. But if we're only going on what we've seen so far, it's going to be New Orleans.
Initially, I was going to say L.A. and Minnesota, but then I remember New Orleans, and I'm like, damn it, I got to go with New Orleans.
And we're going on the first 4 games. Minnesota's been very disappointing.
Yes.
Minnesota hasn't been what we thought they were going to be. Like I said, we're not projecting. If we're only going on results of on-the-field play, they got to be our teams. They got to be. I don't think there's another option.
All right, so there you have it, folks. That's a wrap-up another episode of the Intentional Grounding Podcast. You got our games of the week. Mine is Minnesota beating off the brakes of the Philadelphia Eagles. You got Uncle Glenny's pick of the Kansas City Chiefs knocking off the Jacksonville Jaguars.
By 3.
3. A safety.
By a safety. I like that. Chiefs will never get a safety.
Now, let me ask you before we get out of here. Is there any other hot takes?
Nah, that's it. Just recovering from the vicious flu bug I got. So
AIDS.
Haven't done as much digging and reading as I normally do leading into one of these. So, no, I don't have any hot takes.
All right, before we get in, anyone that watched today on YouTube, thank you for the watch. If you're watching it today, tomorrow, or later on after we've gone off the air,
Weren't we supposed to give out the phone number for people to call in?
Yeah, but our intern, a.k.a. producer, failed to project onto our screen for us, so we apologize to any listeners that wanted to call in today. If anyone's listening on Mixlr, thank you. Don't forget you could check us out on iTunes and the Google Play Store. Thank you. Good night.